I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 5 years now. We got together pretty young, and I honestly thought we were solid. Sure, every relationship has its ups and downs, but I trusted her completely, or at least I did until a few weeks ago. Things started feeling off about a month before the wedding. Lisa's phone started ringing late at night more often than not. She'd slip into the bathroom to take those calls, sometimes for a solid 20 minutes and then come out looking flushed. When I'd ask who it was, she'd brush it off with her usual bitchy attitude, saying I was overreacting or that it was just work stuff. But I noticed her texts were more secretive, and she'd delete her browsing history like her life depended on it. That should have tipped me off, but I was stupid. I thought maybe she was just stressed about wedding planning or something. Still, I kept my eyes open. I'd catch her sneaking out of bed late at night, or she'd suddenly be very busy when I needed her. She'd get defensive if I asked about her phone, call me paranoid or insecure. Honestly, I didn't want to believe she could do something so shitty. I mean, we were supposed to be getting married in a couple of weeks, and I had never even had a suspicion that she'd betray me like this. Then came the moment I'll never forget. It was a Thursday night, and I was home early from work because I wasn't feeling great. I decided to check her phone just out of curiosity, even though I knew I probably shouldn't. I figured maybe she'd just been stressed or I was overthinking everything. But what I found changed everything. Her messages with Frank, her coworker, were there, plain as day. They weren't just friendly banter, it was obvious they'd been sleeping together. At first, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My stomach sank and my head started spinning. I saw texts talking about meeting up after hours. And then there were pictures, photos of her in bed with him, her lying there with her hair spread out, her legs tangled with his. They weren't just talking about sex, they were clearly describing their encounters like it was some kind of secret thrill. I felt sick. How could she lie to me for so long? How could she hide something so blatantly obvious? I kept staring at the screen, trying to process it all. That's when I noticed the worst part, her jewelry box. I opened it casually, thinking maybe I'd grab a watch or something, and there they were. 2 hotel room keys, shiny and new, tucked right in the corner among her earrings and bracelets. I couldn't believe my eyes. She'd been lying right under my nose. She'd been hiding her affair from me, and she was so good at it, so bitchy, so dismissive whenever I got suspicious. I sat there in silence, feeling numb and furious all at once. How could she do this? How could she lie so easily? I was about to confront her, but I knew I needed to plan my next move carefully. Whatever this was, it wasn't just a betrayal. She'd been lying about everything. Every moment I thought I was building a future with her was just a lie. This wasn't just about the sex. It was about the lie, the deception, the fact that I'd been played for a fool. And that's where I'm now trying to figure out what to do next, with that terrible feeling in my gut that everything I believed in is crumbling. I don't know if I can ever trust her again, but right now, I just want to make sure she pays for what she's done. After I found those hotel keys and saw all the messages and photos, I was a mess. I didn't know whether to scream, cry, or just throw everything across the room. I sat there on the edge of the bed, clutching her jewelry box like it was the source of all my pain. My hands were shaking, and I felt this deep pit of anger and betrayal burning inside me. How could she lie to me for so long? How could she pretend everything was okay while she was sleeping with her coworker, Frank? I stared at the keys, turning them over in my hand, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew I had to be smart about it. She was a cynical, bitchy woman, and I'd seen her lie her way out of problems before. She was good at twisting things around, making me feel like I was overreacting or crazy. But this was different. It was proof, solid, undeniable proof that she'd been lying, cheating, and sneaking behind my back for months. I'd never felt so humiliated in my life. Later that night, I waited until she came home from her girls' night, which was her excuse for always disappearing when she was hiding something. She strutted in, a little too confident with her usual attitude that made me want to punch her in the face. She was bitchy from the moment she stepped inside, throwing her purse on the table, giving me that look like I was the one being irrational. I didn't want to waste any more time. I pulled the keys out of my pocket and I looked her right in the eyes. "Lisa," I said, my voice colder than I thought it could be, "I know what you've been doing. I know about Frank, the hotel room, everything." Her face changed instantly, her eyes narrowing. She scoffed, rolling her eyes like I was just overreacting. "What are you talking about? You're crazy. You're just jealous because I didn't want to tell you about Frank. It's no big deal. We're just having some fun. You're overthinking it." I shook my head, feeling the rage building up inside me. "Fun? You call sleeping with your coworker, hiding hotel keys in your jewelry box, and lying to my face fun? You've been lying about everything, Lisa. About your phone, your calls, your nights out. And those keys. They're to a hotel, aren't they?" She sneered. "Look, I don't owe you explanations." "Frank and I, save it," I interrupted her, cutting her off completely. "I don't want to hear your lies anymore. I saw the messages, the pictures, I know about all of it. How long has this been going on?" "Months, since before the wedding." Her face flickered with anger and her voice rose. "You think I'm some kind of slut? You really want to throw that in my face? Whatever, I don't have to explain myself to you. Frank is just a guy." "I'm not cheating on you. Stop lying," I snapped, feeling the blood rush to my head. "I know everything. I want you out. I want you gone, Lisa. I don't want to see you or hear your bullshit anymore." She looked stunned for a second, then her bitchy mask snapped back on. "You're crazy. You're overreacting. This isn't what it looks like. You're just jealous because I don't want to be stuck with some guy who's too insecure to handle a little fun. Frank and I—" "No," I said firmly, my voice trembling with anger. "You lied to me during our entire relationship. You lied to me about everything. I trusted you, Lisa. And you just threw it all away for some cheap sex and the thrill of sneaking around behind my back." She stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her, but I didn't care. I stood there, staring at the jewelry box and those goddamn keys, feeling like my entire world was crashing down around me. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I could have been so blind. How I could have loved someone so much and still been played like a damn fool. That night I knew I had to decide what to do next. I didn't want to be that guy who just took it and moved on. I was furious, hurt, and embarrassed. But mostly I was done being manipulated. I had to figure out whether I was going to fight for my marriage or cut my losses and walk away. And honestly, I wasn't sure I could do either right then. All I knew was that everything I thought was real, my trust, my love, was shattered. The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and a weird numbness I couldn't shake. I kept replaying everything in my head: her sneaky calls, the hotel keys, the texts with Frank. It was like my mind was stuck on a loop of betrayal, and I couldn't find a way out of it. Honestly, I felt like I was losing my mind. I'd never felt so betrayed in my life, and I started questioning everything about our relationship, about Lisa's lies, about how I never saw it coming. I tried to act normal around her, but it was impossible. Every time she looked at me with that bitchy smirk, I felt a surge of anger, like I wanted to wipe that smug look off her face. I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, and that realization hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't even look her in the eyes without feeling like I was going to explode. It was clear she thought she'd gotten away with everything, that she could just lie and cheat and I'd never find out. Well, she was wrong. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. One afternoon, I decided I needed to get some clarity. I wasn't going to confront her again just yet. I needed to think, plan, figure out what my next step was. I got into my car and drove to a quiet park just to clear my head. I sat on a bench and stared at the water, feeling the cold breeze hit my face. That's when it hit me. I needed proof. Solid proof that I could use, that would force her to face what she'd done. I couldn't rely on just the photos and texts. I needed to find everything else, the evidence she'd hidden, the things she was trying to cover up. So I decided to do some digging. I remembered her phone was always locked, but I knew her passwords. I started going through her emails, her social media, her messages. I found a hidden folder on her laptop, what looked like a secret stash of messages, pictures, even receipts from that hotel she'd taken those keys from. I felt a sickening thrill of victory, but also a deep sadness. This wasn't just about cheating anymore. It was about the lies, the manipulation, the fact that I'd been played for a fool for so long. A few days later, I finally uncovered enough to make a move. I printed out everything, screenshots of the messages, photos, receipts, even her hotel key cards. I kept the evidence hidden in case I needed it later. I knew I couldn't just confront her without a plan. I needed her to admit it, to see her squirm. I also knew I had to be careful. She was manipulative and I didn't trust her not to spin everything around. But I was ready. I was angry, hurt, and sick of playing her game. I was going to make her face what she'd done. That night, I sat her down. I pulled out the evidence slowly, one piece at a time, so she could see I wasn't messing around. I watched her face twist from that bitchy smirk to panic to outright rage. She tried to deny everything at first, twisting her words, calling me jealous or insecure. But I just kept showing her proof and her excuses fell apart. She yelled, called me crazy, accused me of spying, but it didn't matter. The truth was out and she knew it. The most surreal moment was when she started crying, fake tears dripping down her face, trying to guilt trip me. "You don't understand, Mike," she said, voice trembling. "Frank and I, it's just sex. It doesn't mean anything. I was just bored and well, he's different. It's not like I love him or anything." That's when I lost it. I told her she was a lying, manipulative bitch who thought she could get away with everything. That her sex is just sex. Line was a pathetic excuse. I told her I was done, that I was walking away, and that she'd better start packing her shit because I wasn't going to stay with a woman who thought she could cheat and lie her way out of it. She screamed at me, called me crazy and insecure, but I didn't care. I knew that I had finally seen the truth. I felt a mixture of relief and deep sadness. Relief because I finally knew the truth, and sadness because I'd loved her once and now that love was gone. I realized that some betrayals cut so deep that they destroy everything. I didn't want to stay with a woman like that. I wanted out of the lies, the betrayal, the fake relationship. That night was the turning point. I started packing my things, not knowing what the future held but knowing I couldn't stay in this mess. I'd been betrayed so badly I wasn't sure I'd ever fully recover. But I knew one thing. I deserved better than a cheating, lying wife who thought she could get away with everything. And I was done pretending I didn't see through her. The next morning, I woke up feeling a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I had finally confronted her, laid all the cards on the table, and made it clear I wasn't going to accept her bullshit anymore. But that relief was fleeting. As I sat in the silence of the apartment, I realized I was also completely shattered. All those years I spent loving her, trusting her, building a life together, gone in a flash. It was like my world had been turned upside down overnight. I started packing my stuff quietly, trying to keep my anger in check. I couldn't believe I'd let myself get so blind. The woman I married, the woman I thought I knew, had been lying to my face for months. All the time she brushed me off, dismissed my feelings, and gave me that bitchy attitude. Now I knew it was just her way of hiding the truth. I felt like such an idiot. How did I not see it? How did I not suspect anything when she was so good at pretending everything was fine? While packing, I found myself remembering all those little moments, the late-night calls, the secretive texts, the way she'd get defensive whenever I asked about her whereabouts. It all added up now. Every suspicious glance, every dodge, every lie. I was furious at myself for not seeing it sooner, for not fighting harder. But honestly, I was mostly just angry at her. She had played me for a fool, and now I was paying the price. I decided I needed to get out of there before I lost my mind. I called a friend, Jake, who had always been there for me, and told him I needed to crash at his place for a few days. I didn't want to face her anymore, not while I was this angry, not while I was this hurt. As I packed the last of my things, I couldn't help but feel the weight of everything I'd lost. My trust, my confidence, that feeling of having someone I could count on. All gone. Before leaving, I took one last look around the apartment, feeling like I was saying goodbye to a life I never thought would end like this. I remembered the good times, the plans we made, the holidays, all the little things that made me believe in us. Now they just felt like memories from a different world. I closed the door behind me, knowing I wouldn't be coming back. It was time to start over. Driving to Jake's place, I kept replaying everything in my head. I felt the sting of betrayal deep in my chest, but also a strange sense of clarity. I knew I had to cut her out of my life completely. She was toxic. Her lies, her manipulations, they'd poisoned everything. I started telling myself I wasn't going to let this define me, but inside I was still hurting. I was scared I'd never trust anyone again, that I'd carry this pain forever. Still, I knew one thing for sure. I was never going to let her do this to me again. I owed it to myself to move on and find someone who wouldn't throw my love back in my face. Once I got to Jake's place, I told him everything and he was furious. His first instinct was to go over there and confront her himself, but I told him to hold off. I needed to think, plan, figure out what I wanted to do next. I wasn't ready to make any rash decisions, not yet. But I knew one thing: I was done with Lisa, done with the lies, and done with feeling like I was some fool getting played. I deserved better. I knew that deep down, and I wasn't going to let her take any more from me. Now I'm sitting here, writing all this down, trying to process what just happened. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I won't be staying in that toxic mess. I've got to rebuild myself from this wreckage. Trust me, it's going to take time. But I'll get there. I have to. I just wish I'd seen the signs earlier, wish I hadn't wasted so much time and love on someone who didn't deserve it. But what's done is done. All I can do now is move forward, learn from this, and never let anyone cheat, lie, or manipulate me like that again. It's been a few weeks since I left her, and I'll admit, it's been one of the hardest experiences of my life. Every day is a struggle, trying to piece together my shattered trust and figure out who I am without her. I keep asking myself how I could have been so blind, how I didn't see the signs earlier. But honestly, I've started to realize that some people are just really good at hiding who they are. Lisa was a master at it. Outwardly, she seemed confident, bitchy, a little bitchy, but confident. Behind closed doors, she was a different person, hiding her lies, her betrayal, her whole double life. The anger still lingers, but it's different now. It's not that intense, all-consuming rage I felt when I first found out. It's more like a dull ache, disappointment, sadness, regret, all mixed together. I keep replaying everything, trying to understand how I missed all the warning signs. The late-night calls, the secretive texts, the sneaky trips out of town. I should have known better, should have listened to that little voice inside telling me something was wrong. But I was blinded by love, or maybe just hope. I wanted to believe she was the woman I thought she was, that she loved me. I also started reaching out to some of her friends, trying to get a better picture of what she'd been hiding. Most of them didn't know the full story. They only saw her bitchy side, her attitude, but not what she was doing behind my back. It's sad, really. I feel like I was the last to know, the last to realize she'd been lying and cheating. It hurts to think about all the times she dismissed my feelings, made me feel like I was overreacting when I got suspicious. Now I see it was all part of her game, keeping me distracted, keeping me from seeing the truth. Emotionally, I'm a wreck, but I'm also starting to feel stronger. I've cut off all contact with her. No texts, no calls, no nothing. I know I need to focus on myself now. That's the only way I'll heal. I've been working out more, trying to keep my mind busy. I've even gone out a few times, met some new people. It's awkward, honestly, because I still carry this pain with me, but I'm trying to remind myself I deserve better than being lied to and cheated on. I deserve trust, loyalty, honesty. It's crazy how much one person can mess you up. I trusted Lisa with everything, my heart, my future, and she threw it all away for some cheap sex and some secret thrill. That realization makes me sick to my stomach. But I also realize I can't keep living in the past. I have to move forward, rebuild my life from the ashes of this disaster. It's not easy, and some days are worse than others. But I have to keep telling myself that I'm better off without her. She's the one who lost a good man, not me. I'll find someone who values loyalty, who genuinely loves me, not someone who plays games and lies straight to my face. Honestly, I'm at a crossroads now. Do I try to fix this mess? Do I reach out for closure? Or do I just walk away and forget her entirely? Right now, I'm leaning toward just walking away. If she really loved me, she wouldn't have done this. If she valued our relationship, she wouldn't have hidden all those secrets. I'm tired of being her fool, tired of the lies, tired of feeling like I'm not enough. What I do know is I won't be making the same mistake again. I've learned my lesson the hard way. Never ignore the signs. Never doubt your instincts and never, ever settle for someone who doesn't treat you with respect. I wish I could go back and change everything, but I can't. So I'll just take what I've learned and try to rebuild. Maybe someday I'll find someone who truly values me, who wouldn't even dream of betraying my trust. That's what I deserve, and I'm determined to find it. Looking back now, I realize that this whole nightmare has changed me in ways I never expected. At first, I was just raw with pain and betrayal, feeling like a complete idiot for trusting her so blindly. But over time, I started to see things more clearly. I see how she lied, how she manipulated, and how she thought she could get away with it all. That realization stung, but it also gave me a sense of clarity. I refused to let her define me or keep me trapped in that anger forever. I've learned that trust, once broken this badly, isn't something you can just repair overnight. It's like a scar. Some wounds heal, but the mark remains. I've accepted that I'll probably always carry some bitterness, some scars from this betrayal. But I also know that I'm stronger than I thought. I've started to rebuild my confidence, piece by piece, reminding myself that I deserve honesty and loyalty, things I once thought I had but was tragically mistaken about. The most painful part was realizing how much I loved her, and how that love was thrown away so callously. It's a bitter pill to swallow, knowing I was just another chapter in her game, another conquest she could lie about and cheat on. But I'm learning to let go of that pain, to accept that some people just aren't worth the heartbreak. That's the hard truth I had to face. Sometimes love isn't enough to save someone from their own flaws and lies. Now I'm focusing on myself. I've started therapy to deal with the emotional fallout, and it's helping. I've realized that I don't need her or anyone like her to feel whole. I can find happiness on my own, even if it takes time. There's a kind of peace in accepting that I did everything I could and that sometimes love just isn't enough. Some people aren't worth fighting for, and some betrayals are just too deep to fix. The important thing is to learn from it and move on. I want to tell anyone reading this, if you're going through something similar, don't let it define you. Yes, it hurts like hell. Yes, you'll question everything. But you will survive and you'll come out stronger. Trust your instincts and never ignore the signs. Don't be afraid to walk away from someone who betrays you, no matter how much you love them. Because at the end of the day, you owe yourself respect and happiness. This whole experience has been a brutal lesson, but it's also made me realize my own strength. I may be battered, but I'm not broken. And one day, I'll find someone who's worthy of my love, someone who won't lie, cheat, or betray me. Until then, I'll keep moving forward, healing and learning to trust myself again. Because that's what life is about, getting up after you fall and refusing to let someone else's betrayal define who you are.